Nasal fracture. I would like to start by saying that the treatment of nasal fracture was first recorded 5,000 years ago during the early Pharaonic period in ancient Egypt. What readily comes to mind are gladiators
Spartans! What is your profession?
fighting and breaking each other's nose. Edwin Smith Papyrus described repositioning of deviated nasal bones with the fingers or elevator, the insertion of splints, and the application of external dressings. So yes, as it was in ancient times, nasal fractures are still very common. I need to quickly mention that isolated nasal fractures of the nasal pyramid accounts for about 40% of all facial fractures. Furthermore, fractures of the nasal bones are often sustained along with other fractures of the facial skeleton. Delays in management can result in significant cosmetics and functional deformity that is often a cause of subsequent medical legal action. The management of fractures of the nose is an important part of everyday ear, nose, and throat practice. Do you know that relatively little force is required to fracture the nasal bones? That is why it should not surprise you that young men are twice as likely to sustain a fractured nose as women. It may also interest you to know that subsequent refracture rates of 5% have been reported. Nasal fracture is common between ages 15 to 30 years, when assault, contact sports, and adventurous leisure activities are more predominant. In childhood, accident-prone toddlers frequently fracture their noses as well, and these are often of a green stick nature. Compound and comminuted fractures are more common in the elderly who are prone to falls. Let's have a short break. When I come back, I'll talk about the classification and pathophysiology of nasal fractures. Thank you. Welcome back. Nasal fractures have been classified in a number of ways, for example, by the direction of impact and degree of force applied, the extent and direction of deformity, and the pattern of the fracture. Talking about the direction of impact and degree of force applied, it's been found that most fractures result from laterally applied forces. These occur in over 66% of cases. By contrast, fractures following frontal injury accounted for 13% of this series. Greater force is required to fracture the nose with a blow directed from the front as the nasal cartilage behaves like shock absorbers. On the extent of deformity, a 5-point grading system has been developed for the extent of lateral deviation of nasal pyramid. Grade 0, the bones are perfectly straight. Grade 1, the bones are deviated less than half of the width of the bridge of the nose. Grade 2, the bones are deviated half to one full width of the bridge of the nose. Grade 3, the bones are deviated greater than one full width of the bridge of the nose. Grade 4, the bones are almost touching the cheek. When I come back in the next module, I'll talk about the three classes of nasal fractures and the mechanism of each fracture. Thank you.